And welcome. This is the third episode of Cheap Shot News. I'm Zach, and I'm going to be walking you through some different news topics today in regards to entertainment, specifically movies, mostly movies today we're going to be talking about. So hopefully you're caught up on what we've talked about previously. If not, you can check out the playlist on the YouTube page. It's probably over here. It's hard to tell. It's inverted. It might be over here. Anyways, it's on one of my sides. You can watch the other videos when you get done with this one. So today, to get started, there was a drop in the Deadpool directing position. Tim Miller, who directed the first one, we talked about this last week, he dropped out over creative differences with Ryan Reynolds. So what has happened is obviously there's a void that needs to be filled. It's not super urgent. That's not coming out until 2018, I believe, but it's still something that we want to get done. So speculation has been on a few different guys, primarily David Leaked. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Something along those lines. Anyways, he was the director of John Wick, which I'm super excited about, actually. Tim Miller, before he did Deadpool, really hadn't done much. But this guy, I know, I've seen it. I love John Wick. It's a great movie. Keanu's not, the best actor in the world, but he's good at action. That's one thing that he's actually really stellar at. But what he did is he made action movies great again, in my opinion, type of situation where because he was a stunt organizer, he was a stunt coordinator. I think he did stunts in the past. I'd have to check in on that to make sure. But you believe me, right? I'm on the internet. And so what he did is just make it super precise, super believable. One of the things that he did is John uses different guns throughout the movie, and they were very precise on, okay, how many bullets does he have in his gun? When does he need to reload? We're not talking about like back in the 80s, 90s where machine guns would fire indefinitely and just keep going. That's not how guns work. So I just really have an appreciation for that level of reeling it in, essentially, and really looking at the specifics and how would this actually work in real life if we actually had a hero that used gunplay. How would that be realistically, and how would the movements work? How would the guns work? All those different things. So I think that's actually perfect for Deadpool, because Deadpool is highly, he's not super hard in the sense where he can, control your mind, or he can see into the future, or teleport, or something like that. His powers are best used when he's fighting, when he's using guns, different things like that. So having a guy that has that background and can be very deliberate, I think, is actually a great thing. I love Deadpool, great movie, but I think it lost some things in the montages of fighting. And I want to see a little more deliberation in, okay, we're going to actually walk through this instead of just going through a montage. We're going to actually give you step by step. Here's Deadpool fighting these people. So, super excited about that. I think that would be a great option. Another guy that's a potential candidate is the guy from The Martian. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he's also a potential candidate. But if David Leaked, anyways, not the best at pronouncing. If he does it, guy who directed John Wick, I'd be super happy about that. So, continuing on with basically the idea of Deadpool, I guess, is what we're going to continue with, is Tim Miller, who was going to do Deadpool, is now moving on to produce a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So any of you that are from the 90s, like me, I was technically born in 88, I guess, but early 90s people, you would know who Sonic the Hedgehog is. Some of you younger millennials may not be as familiar other than outside of just references. So one of the most popular video games of the early 90s, Sonic the Hedgehog, was on Sega. Basically a scrolling screen type of situation, just like the old Mario was. Except Sonic was ridiculously fast, and you collected coins, and you avoided hazards and different things like that. And it was a great game. more recent generations of the game have really struggled because part of what was great about Sonic was its simplicity. And when you put it into a 3D world, it loses a little bit of something. Now, Mario has definitely gone past that and developed past that. Same with like Zelda has developed past that, but it seems like Sonic never really developed past it. And now they're making a movie, and this is just me. This is just a little bit of the cheap shot coming. This sounds like it's going to be horrible. It sounds like it's going to be a bust. I have no details on it at this point in time, but anytime you make a movie based on nostalgia, I feel like it's a bad decision because then good writing doesn't go in it. It's just, we got to take advantage of the nostalgia. And I think that's a problem with video game movies in general, but also a problem just of remaking like childhood movies and different things like that. I don't think this is going to go anywhere. I think it's going to be a huge box office bust. And I shouldn't say that. It might make some money, but I think it will be critically slammed. This is just me projecting into the future. I don't think the movie's even going to come out until 2018 sometime. So, and I will say Tim Miller's producing. The guy who's directing has done a couple of shorts, but other than that, he hasn't really done much. So it's hard to say based on the actual director. I don't see this movie going anywhere. I will say it's not going to be live action. It's going to be a CGI mixed with cartoon, essentially. So that's that. Not overly excited about that. I think it's interesting that Tim Miller goes to, possibly the best R-rated movie of all time. Well, I shouldn't say best rated, highest grossing, and it's not a possibility. It definitely was the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, to Sonic the Hedgehog, which I think, even though it might make some money, I think it's going to be a critical and financial flop. So, moving on to a movie that I don't think will flop, Alien Covenant. Although it's hard to tell if this movie, how much traction it has. Prometheus, I'd have to look at the numbers. I think it did well, but it was critically, again, not super well. Didn't do super well, and the fans found parts of it confusing. I actually really like Prometheus. Yes, the Prometheus school of running away from things is a real thing, and that was stupid. And if you know what I'm talking about, or if don't know what I'm talking about, basically at the end of the movie when they're running away from the rolling ship that is going in one direction is only, not that wide, but you just keep running away from it while it rolls that for you instead of like diagonaling off into a direction. Yeah, that's that kind of script writing and movie making. That's stupid. But overall, I think a lot of the plot holes in it weren't actually plot holes because Ridley Scott has the tendency of basically putting in quote-unquote plot holes and then resolving them later. And by the way, I will say a plot hole isn't something that doesn't make sense to you. It's something that a movie sets up something and then is contradicted later in that same movie. Not just movie sets up something and it doesn't get resolved. That's not a plot hole. So when I say quote-unquote plot holes. Oh, so super excited about this movie, actually. I really like the cast. I'm a huge fan of Michael Fassbender. Noomi Rapace. I learned how to pronounce that earlier. Come on, Zach. Noomi is going to be in it, although the description, the synopsis, does say that, basically the crew of the Covenant, a colonizing ship, comes across this planet that seems like a paradise, but they find out that there is more sinister stuff going on, and that Michael Fassbender's David is actually the only inhabitant of said planet. So I wonder if Noomi's going to be in like flashbacks. Peter Wayland is supposed to technically be in it again, so I'm assuming he's going to be in flashbacks, but because he died, he dead. Yeah, he definitely dead. So unless after getting slapped by the alien, he woke up and learned how to fly a ship by himself, but he probably dead. So probably some flashbacks in that. One thing that I did find interesting is they announced, I think this last week, Michael Fassbender had an interview, and he's actually going to be playing two characters. And remember, he is an android, so all that means is there's going to be the android David, and then probably a newer android that still looks the same. Walter is going to be the name of that. So That's going to be interesting to see him, and that's just speculation on my part. I think he's going to be playing basically an updated version of himself. So how do you act like the guy you're acting as, but more of that guy? I don't know how you do that, but I'm excited about it. I really like the cast of this movie. Supposedly, we're gonna see Ripley's mother in it as one of the main characters. That's also just speculation. And then let me check here. The internet is doing internet things. Catherine Watterson as Daniels. She is supposedly going to be Sigourney Weaver and Sigourney Weaver's mother, Ripley's mother, in this as well. So that's interesting, but we'll see what happens there. I also like the casting of Danny McBride. Big fan of his. Primarily a comedic actor, but I like it when comedic actors can make that transition to more serious roles. And this necessarily doesn't need to be super serious. He might have comedic effect, but, you know, Alien primarily is a thriller type movie. So really excited. Really like those movies. Definitely going to go see that one. So continuing on to The Flash. So this is concerning for people that are fans of the DC universe. The Flash has lost 2 directors in the past 5 to 6 months. So not great. Both of them have been over creative differences. Now you could look at this in one of 2 ways. That Warner and DC has really seen their errors in their ways currently. Sorry, having trouble speaking. Errors in their ways in regards to the Batman vs. Superman movie, Suicide Squad, and probably some aspect of Man vs. Superman, Man of Steel. So all those movies, although have done well at the box office, have been less than successful in regards to basically, what would I call it? Fan appeal. And then in regards to critical appeal as well. Been kind of knocked after the fact by fans and critics alike. All 3 of those movies. So you could look at it one way of DC and Warner Brothers is really making an attempt to get the exact person to do exactly what they want them to do. I'm a little glass half empty on this. I think their movies, although enjoyable in some fashion and probably not as bad as most people have said they are, including critics, this does not bode well. This does not look good. This looks like they're unwilling to let go of their control, and you have to let go of the control. I don't know how Marvel does it. I don't know if Marvel goes, hey, you're going to listen to us, but I don't feel like that's what happens. The movies have felt very different throughout. I mean, watch Winter Soldier and then watch anything else. Watch Ant-Man and watch anything else. Definitely different tones, different stories, different focuses throughout each movie. The Marvel movies are heavily focused on the characters and character development, but the tones are so different. Ant-Man is so different tone. Guardians of the Galaxy is a different tone. And they each have their different feel, but they work together. Primarily because we know that they're in the same universe, so we have it in their mind, so they kind of have to work together that way. But I don't think this is a good thing. I think DC and Warner are just, nope, we have to have it this certain way, and we're not going to let you do it any other way, and then everything just feels dead. The movies so far have been storytelling nightmares, in my opinion. So, and that's just kind of how it continues to feel. Wonder Woman also lost its director. They got one in really quickly. So, not going too well for them. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe they have flipped the script and they're able to reel this back in and make some really awesome movies in the future. I would love to see that. I like the idea of a darker superhero universe, and I want that to be what DC does, but they need to be better at storytelling to do so. So, continuing on in the superhero genre, also by Disney, probably throwing you off a little bit, it was recently announced that The Incredibles 2, is actually flip-flopping their release dates with Toy Story. which I find super cool. I think The Incredibles 2 movie is about 8 years past due, and they keep making Toy Stories for some reason, even though the third movie wrapped it up really, really well. You know, after I was done crying hysterically, the movie wrapped up really nicely. So, I guess in summary, I'm excited about it. I think The Incredibles was a great movie. Watching it again, still a great movie. You'd be surprised how far they've come in their animation, Pixar has. I mean, I would definitely suggest watch Toy Story, the original, or Incredibles, or one of their earlier movies, and then watch like Monsters University or something, you know, a little more recent, Wall-E, something like that. They have come a long ways. Incredibles was very flat. There wasn't a lot of texture. The animation was good, but there wasn't a lot of texture. Whereas you watch like Monsters University or even Monsters Inc. and you look at Sully and you can see individual hairs, that becomes a little more impressive. So really happy about that, just because they teased a sequel after the first movie, and that was in 2004, and we're not gonna see this one until 2018. So when I actually say 8 years, I should say 10 years, because we're still not getting it for another 2 years. That came about 10 years too late. Should have had this out a long time ago. And although I think you'll do great with Toy Story 4, I think it's completely unnecessary and a cash grab. I was talking to a friend about this earlier today. Hollywood's about making money, not about integrity. That's why we get nothing about reboots and movies based on books and everything like that, because they can make money. There's no like, well, I'm not sure this will make money. You know, The Hunger Games will make money. The Hobbit's going to make money. Fantastic Beasts will make money. So we can schedule out 5 movies and don't really have to worry about it. So you're going to still take my money, but I would ask that you stop sucking in the process and make some original material like TV, please. Even though I will say my favorite show on TV is based off of a book, and that's Game of Thrones. So I'm up in the air. I'm up in the air a little bit. Like I said, you're still going to get my money. Just try to give me something interesting occasionally. Be like Christopher Nolan in that way. So what I'm going to finally talk about as a larger topic today is something that I'm actually super excited about, because I didn't really know where they were going in this movie series, I guess we're going to call it. I would say it's more of an anthology, just because they're not completely connected. J.J. Abrams recently announced a third film in the Cloverfield, again, series, anthology, whatever you want to call it. It's called God Particle. So what this movie is going to be about is just a brief synopsis that I read on in the article, is about a team of astronauts who make a shocking discovery and end up fighting for survival in what is described as an altered reality. I love this because, as I just spoke of, we need more creativity, we need more originality in Hollywood, and we're getting it from a handful of directors. JJ happens to be one of them. Now, that being said, JJ has done Star Trek and Star Wars, and he did a good job with both of those. Not original, though. I will say he did Alias back in the day, original. I think that was original. Lost was definitely original. Fringe was original. So he's got a history of doing really awesome sci-fi original series. So I'm just super excited that he's continuing to have his hands in and produce this. I believe that's what he's going to be doing, is Bad Robot. His production company is going to be producing this. Probably get another, semi-new director to actually direct it. That synopsis just sounds amazing. And I love that they're doing these kind of interconnected but completely separate storylines. So within the same umbrella or under the same universe, but completely different people. I will say 10 Cloverfield Lane was really good. A very, very solid movie on its foundation. And I actually like Cloverfield. Not a lot of people like the shaky cam. It bothers some people. It's one of the few movies that it doesn't bother me in, because I think it works well with the story. But 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think they missed out in one key area, and that was calling it 10 Cloverfield Lane. When you call it that, everyone knows what it is. And this God Particle one, they've typically been hush-hush in the past about coming out with this information, but I think this one isn't going to have a major, I guess, twist. It probably will, actually, but they've probably gotten to the point where they don't need to be hush-hush about it anymore. But that being said, 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think they made a mistake with calling it 10 Cloverfield Lane. I think it was initially called, like, it wasn't The Room, but the Bunker or something like that. I think you should have just let it go and let people find out what it was about at the very end. I don't think I saw it opening weekend, so it probably would have been spoiled for me just because I'm on the internet constantly. But I think that would have been so cool to find out, you know, in the spoilers. I'm going to talk about it in detail here, so spoilers. If we would have found out that, you know, we basically the entire movie, we think John Goodman's just messing with her just to keep her in this bunker. And then she gets out and then she sees the alien. And we had nothing to go on to that point. If they wouldn't have released anything in the trailers, because I do remember some of the trailers were like, uh-oh, what's happening here? And different things like that. That would have been like one of the biggest twists ever in a movie, of he's saying that there was some sort of alien attack, but we just feel that he's just BSing just to try to keep her down here. And then she escapes. And at that point in time, we actually do see, holy crap, it was aliens. And then we find out, you know, then when she leaves the farm, she runs over the mailbox and it says 10 Cloverfield Lane. And then we would have connected. I probably would have connected earlier because it's a JJ movie or JJ produced movie, but that would have been amazing. Anyways, still a great movie. Still very well done. But I just think they missed out a little bit on what it could have been. So super excited for that new movie in the anthology in the future. So to wrap up, I'm going to do something that I might do from time to time. I'm just going to call it quick shots. Basically topics that probably don't need in-depth discussion. I'm just going to rattle off a few different topics and say whether or not I'm interested or excited by said topic. I'll give a yes, no, or maybe, and move on. And anything that I talk about, please comment below if you have any opinions that differ from mine or things that you want me to talk about that I haven't been talking about. Definitely let me know. I'd love to, you know, speak more towards what you guys are interested in hearing. So for quick shots, topic 1, Andrew Lincoln Emmy nomination petition, and I'll link that down below, for season 7, episode 1 of The Walking Dead. Essentially, it is what it sounds like. People think Andrew Lincoln should get an Emmy nod for his acting in season 7, episode 1. I completely agree. I am very surprised that he hasn't gotten an Emmy nod at all for that show. He's done an extremely well job. I've hated him at some times. I've loved him at some points in the show as well. He definitely deserves it. And the Rick in episode 1 was a Rick that we've never seen really heavily before, of basically just broken and doesn't know what to do. So yes, interested in that. I think he should get an Emmy nod. Number 2, Sherlock season 4 is coming out January 1st of 2017. Super excited about that. It's probably gonna be a little behind schedule for me because I have Netflix, so I don't know how quickly that's going to be released on Netflix. But Sherlock is one of the best written and well acted shows on television. You can't get a whole lot better than Sherlock. If you haven't watched it, 3 seasons are on Netflix, plus 1 Christmas special episode. I believe it's a Christmas special. So you can watch all those. That comes out to be, I think it's only 10 episodes. Now, seasons are really short. They're typically only 3 episodes apiece, but they're very long episodes, about an hour and a half piece. So basically a shorter movie for each episode, but it's worth it. Really, really well done. Really greatly acted with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. So definitely check that out. Super excited about that. Topic number 3. James Cameron promises to push innovation for future Avatar movies. So this is somewhere in the middle, because on the plus side, I'm super excited about pushing innovation. On the bottom side, I don't care about the Avatar movies. Avatar was super overrated. I can't believe that it made as much as it did. It only made as much as it did because it was, at the time, the most innovative movie ever made. Now, I would say Jungle Book beat it out hands down on several different categories, including innovation in regards to CGI and FX and just a better movie in general. I think the Avatar movies are average. I think the Avatar movie was average. I think the story was uninspired, and I think the acting was fairly poor. Outside of that, looking back at it, it doesn't look nearly as cool anymore, and that's going to happen with a movie like that. So there's going to be something like 4 more Avatar movies, so I really hope that James Cameron makes big leaps and bounds in regards to CGI, FX, and other areas that can be used well in other movies. Just not really excited about the Avatar movies, not a huge fan of that story or the first one. So, if you disagree with me, tell me why I'm stupid and why I should love Avatar. And finally, Star Trek Beyond was released today. I actually got to watch this a few days ago. I wasn't able to see it in theaters, but my brother got it on, what was it? He ordered it early on Google something, the App Store. Anyways, I really liked it. It was a solid movie. Those in general are very solid movies, all 3 of them. I think the first one is still the best. What I liked about this one, and I'm not a big Star Trek guy, definitely way bigger Star Wars guy, but it felt more original. It felt just the way they did it. It wasn't so much focused on the action. It felt more like a callback to the original series and just kind of how they did things. So I'm having a hard time thinking about how to describe that, but that's just what I can say. I feel like they were more intentional about making it feel more like the shows instead of just being like a knockoff Star Wars and focusing too much on the action. So definitely a really good movie. Probably not as good as the first one in my opinion, but super excited. That came out today, so you can go pick that up in your local store if you'd like to check that out, or probably Redbox it as well. Definitely Redbox it if you want to check it out and you don't want to drop, $20 on it. So that's going to do it for me today. I went a little long. Sorry about that, but we're still generally in the time. Please, if you like what you hear here, if you like what you hear and see, if you like what you see here, like and subscribe below on the bottom. Watch my past videos. You can also check us out at cheapshotcinema.com. We have original content, including other videos and written content. We're probably going to start throwing up different content as well on there, hopefully in the near future. So check us out at cheapshotcinema.com. You can also like us on Twitter or follow us on Facebook. So you guys have a great week. I'm super happy that you visited, and I will see you sometime next Tuesday. All right. Peace.